On today's show, the Ottawa Senators begin a critical 4-game homestand. We'll look at what's to come and what the Senators need to do to get themselves back into the playoff mix.
And when you can't sell wins, sell hope. And when you can't sell hope, sell nostalgia, Ross. We're selling pizza as we take a look back at the best pizza line memories.
This is Brady Kachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can get started with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, and Pilsy, we saw lots of overtime games around the NHL last night, and each one breaks my heart a little bit more than the next.
Yeah, Ross, there's nothing worse than when your team is struggling to get wins and then you're hoping that at least you can prey on the downfall of others and they get the maximum amount of points possible all over the board, basically. Like that was, other than Buffalo not going to overtime, that couldn't have gone any worse.
Yeah, it really couldn't have. I mean, Columbus loses in regulation, but that was secondary to the tribute for Johnny Gaudreau. Another just heart-wrenching, teary-eyed night in Calgary. But you look at the Eastern Conference, Pittsburgh gets the win in overtime. They allow Florida to come back, get a point there. Not like the Sens are competing with them, but everyone else who was in the mix. The Islanders, don't get me started on the Islanders. Like, I know it's become a bit on this show, like, oh, the overtime lost merchants. Well, they did it again, folks. Their 10th overtime game of the season already. They've gone to overtime in a third of their games since the start of last season. Like, why do I wish that was us? Like, how sad is that?
It's sad, Ross, when you wish you were a better form of a loser.
Yeah, well, improvements are improvements, no matter how they look. But the Senators need to improve on their last homestand, where they were just downright not good enough, where they went 1-3 against Edmonton, Vegas. Calgary was the win, but they lost, of course, to the Vancouver Canucks, a postcast I'd like to forget 2 Saturdays ago. This homestand, though, you don't have the excuse that, oh, these are some of the best teams in the NHL coming to town. You've got Detroit, who you are neck and neck with in the standings. Detroit gets an OT loss to Boston, last night. So that's another 3-point game there. The Wings are 2 points up on Ottawa, and Ottawa has a game in hand. So you have to get this win tomorrow. It's a must-win game to the oomph degree. And then they've got the back-to-back on the weekend with the Predators coming to town. They have 7 wins in 25 games this season, Pilsy. And then on Sunday, maybe we go to overtime with the New York Islanders coming to town. The homestand wraps up next Wednesday against the Anaheim Ducks. They've had 3 days off. Today's the 3rd day in a row the Senators have not played a game. So there is no reason that they should not come out swinging against a Red Wings team that's wrapping up a road trip in Ottawa. What are your expectations, not only for this homestand, but really we're in a stretch of games right now until that long, daunting road trip that begins in Seattle on December 17th. So basically, I'm adding in 2 more games. The Hurricanes on the road next Friday, and then the Penguins at home, second half of back-to-back on Saturday, December 14th.
You got to win tomorrow's game in regulation, Ross. That is what we've talked about. It must win, desperation win, all caps, bolded, underlined. You got to win that game. Up against the Nashville Predators, that's a game you want to win, but that team's better than I think their record is. So I'm a little worried about that game. And then the Islanders will take the overtime win there. Oh, muted.
And then you got to beat the Ducks.
Yeah, preferably not lose to the Ducks in a shootout. Yes.
Let's get one win in the season series against the Anaheim Ducks. That make me feel a little bit better. I want to hear from the fans of the Ottawa Senators. What would make you believe in this team? That's kind of the theme of the week right now, is what do the Sens need to do to get your belief back? We see it in the chat. We see it in the comments that trades are a part of things, but we're not ready to talk about trades until the new year. This nucleus, this core, they need to figure it out themselves, and we'll see where Nicholas Matin-Palo fits into all this, because he was recalled from Belleville right after the weekend. Donovan Sabrango sent back. They prefer the right shot, it seems, but Matin-Palo wasn't at practice yesterday. I don't know if it was traffic on the 416 or what, but he wasn't there. So we are recording early this week. I'm on a different work schedule, so we are recording before practice. So we will give you updates at Sens Central. Where would you slot Matin-Palo into this decor?
Easy for me, Ross. It's got to be with Tyler Kleven. I think you move Nick Jensen up with Jake Sanderson. For the love of God, get Sanderson with someone other than Hamonic. JBD and Shabbat, which I know isn't always great, but I think that's best for how that decor can shake up. And then Tyler Kleven and Matin-Palo, and you give Hamonic a night or 2 or 3 off.
Yeah, I'm not against that. Up front, there were no changes to the roster at practice yesterday, and that means that the top line of Tim Stützle with Claude Giroux and with Adam Gaudette will continue on. So too will the kid line. The kid line between Josh Norris, Brady Tkachuk, and Drake Batherson. They're all in their mid-20s now, but gosh darn it, I remember the COVID season where they were all in their early 20s doing their thing. So I did like that line's play, though, against the Anaheim Ducks. And more importantly, I think in terms of creating some depth on this team, I really like the line of Shane Pinto, Nick Cousins, and Michael Amadio in that third period against the Ducks. So something to build on there for a line that just had zero confidence before Sunday.
Yeah, they needed that goal. That worked out really good. Michael Amadio needed some sort of offensive production after just getting grade A chances and not being able to do anything. And Nick Cousins needed to get on the score sheet other than taking multiple bad penalties in a game. So that was huge for them. Ross, do we start calling the kid line the teen line? Have they evolved to teens or?
Yeah, well, if the Sens don't keep winning, we'll call them the midlife crisis line.
Yeah, oh man, seriously.
But we're not there yet. We're not there yet, Pilsy. We are not there yet as the delusional duo here on Locked On Senators, but they need to get this homestand off to a strong start tomorrow. There will be a big nostalgic factor to play. Dany Heatley, Jason Spezza coming to town. Of course, Alfie's already here. They will be reunited and drop a ceremonial puck to start things off. At the end of this show, we've done the math. How much pizza did the Ottawa Senators fan base get from that ridiculous line for those 2 glory years, 2005, 2006, and the following season where they went to the Stanley Cup Finals? We will give you that information at the end of today's show, but we want to do something a little different. Look, it's all Sens all the time here, but we are Canadian, eh? And we have the 4 nations roster for Team Canada. And it wasn't Frank Saravalli to break things like he did with the expansion. The rosters will be announced tonight, but yesterday on Insider Trading, the insiders are so funny, man. Pierre LeBrun, Darren Dreger, they kept saying all signs point to, and here's every single player that made the team. So I thought that was pretty funny. We'll get into that conversation around who the snubs were, and is Canada going to be the favorite at this event in February? That's coming up next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. They got 4 stores in Ottawa. You can check them out at Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. Mary J's offers the best and newest products in the market with many new additions to the menu every single week to keep it fresh. They got competitive pricing. In fact, Guys, they're going to price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around when you shop at Mary J's. And they've got great customer service with friendly bud tenders who are always ready to help you out. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan. So go to one of the stores, say what up to Dashy, and pick his brain about the Sens and all the latest, greatest products that Mary J's has to offer. Check out the website and get yourself a loyalty card. It's Mary J's Dispensary.
Love supporting local. Support our friends over at Mary J's. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Get ready to tackle all the action on FanDuel, and new customers can bet $5, and if your first bet wins, you will get $150 in bonus bets. Make sure you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It gives you everything you need to place live bets all in one place. That means if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page that you make your bets. So join FanDuel.com right now and get in on the action. They've got the Four Nations face-off already locked and loaded. Canada plus 135 to win the event. So make every moment more and never waste a hunch on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Pilsy, we are awaiting tomorrow's game day. Ottawa Senators taking on the Detroit Red Wings. It is a 7 o'clock start at the Canadian Tire Center, and it is the first of many shuttles going to and from the CTC from our friends at the GLEBE Central Pub. They've got a shuttle Thursday for the Sens game, Friday for the PWHL Ottawa game. They've got a shuttle Saturday and Sunday for the Senators game, and Wednesday as well. Not to mention, there will be shuttles going to and from the World Juniors for all Team Canada games. Wear your Kazakhstan jersey, though, and support our guy, Vladimir Nikitin. Team Sweden, by the way, quickly on the World Juniors before we get to the Four Nations, they have named their roster with only 7 defensemen, Pilsy, on their preliminary roster. So they're not like Canada where they're going to make a whole spectacle out of a selection camp and the video of knocking on the doors of who made the team and all that. But I've got a little inside for you on Team Sweden. You know who the 8th defenseman is on Team Sweden? If there's an injury, Gabriel Eliasson will be at the tournament.
Oh, okay.
I've heard that they really like their 2005 birth year defenseman, so it is all 19-year-old defensemen for Team Sweden at the tournament. However, I can confirm that if there is an injury, Eliasson is the next man up.
That's awesome. We love to hear that. Hopefully, we get a chance to have more than one prospect at the World Juniors. But Ross, the second Gabriel Eliasson steps on the ice in an IIHF event, he's going right to the box. Like, he's not gonna last.
Gabriel Eliasson had 20 penalty minutes in 7 games at the under 18s last year. Hey, he's having a decent year, man. I got to give it to him. With the adjustment, too, I'm happy with what we're seeing from Eliasson. +7, 24 games. He's got 56 penalty minutes already. He's got 2 goals and an assist, and he's playing the right way. So we're big Gabriel Eliasson fans. Just wanted to pass that information. I don't think it's out there yet, but there you have it. The Trey Kroner, their team, they've got all. I'm not even going to try these Swedish names, but the roster is out, and it is 7 defensemen have been listed for that. Okay, now to the pros. The best on best tournament happening in February. Opening game is February 12th, Canada versus Sweden. And although the rosters will be announced later today, the Finland and Sweden teams will be announced, I believe, 2 o'clock Eastern time, and then at 7 right before the action on Sportsnet tonight for their weekly Wednesday night hockey that will feature tonight the Toronto Maple Leafs hosting the Nashville Predators. Team Canada and Team USA will be announced. But leave it to the TSN insiders to ruin any sort of build-up to that Sportsnet event. Notice that it wasn't Sportsnet. You think Elliot Friedman doesn't know the rosters? He does, but he wants it to.
He 100% does, Ross. Even on 32 Thoughts, he was like, The NHL has really laid it down on us that we cannot release the rosters. And he was laying it on pretty thick. He's like, I know it all, but I cannot say a thing.
Well, Darren Dreger can, and Chris Johnston can, and Pierre LeBrun can, and they did just that. So, the roster, and then we'll discuss the surprises. Up front, I mean, the obvious ones, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Nathan MacKinnon, Braden Point, Brad Marchand. Here, why don't I name it off as though it's my projected lines? But these are the players. Of course, the lines are subject to change. It's Connor McDavid, Travis Konechny, and Mark Stone. It's
our one line.
This is my line. Okay, leave me alone. Okay. Then we've got Sidney Crosby with Brad Marchand and Nathan MacKinnon, the Nova Scotia trio.
Goodbyes.
Then we've got, I love this third line. I really do. Braden Point with Brandon Hagel and Mitch Marner.
Okay.
And then Anthony Cirelli with Sam Bennett and Sam Reinhart. Call it the Florida boys.
Yeah.
And then Seth Jarvis is getting an invite as, to me, the 13th forward. On defense, Taves and Makar. Devin Taves, of course. Shea Theodore with Alex Pietrangelo. Josh Morrissey and Colton Parayko. And Travis Sanheim got himself an invitation to this team as well. The goalies, Aiden Hill, Jordan Binnington, and Samuel Montembeault. Let me ask you this. What surprised you most of the roster for Canada?
I mean, not too much, honestly. I thought Steven Stamkos was going to get in, Ross, just because obviously you've got the John Cooper connection. I know he's having a down year, but it's his first year in Nashville. That whole team's having a down year. I don't think that should really be that much of a slight on Stamkos. And I mean, I love seeing Steven Stamkos play for Team Canada, especially that's a guy that has had some bad luck. He broke his leg with Team Canada, right? Or was it before and then he wasn't able to play with Team Canada? There was some sort of injury.
Well, John Tavares broke his leg at the Olympics.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe
but I thought Stamkos had something as well. But either way, it's going to be probably the last chance he would get to do that. So I really thought Cooper was going to bring him along, but
he's not having a good enough year. This is a tough roster to make, and you knew that they were going to bring some of their guys, and I think that's deserved. You look at Anthony Cirelli's season is kind of low-key been elite, and he's played with Hagel and Kucherov all year. So to bring Hagel and Cirelli, and you're going to see that when we talk about the blue line as well, I think they valued familiarity because it's such a small tournament, short time to get any sort of chemistry. So you're seeing these guys from the same team jump together. With that said, one of my surprises, no Zach Hyman on this team. I know he's not scoring at the same clip as last year, but that would have been like the Chris Kunitz at the Olympics with Sidney Crosby, bring the wingman for Connor McDavid. I guess they figure 97 can play with anybody, hey?
Yeah, I think that's the case, Ross. And obviously it's not a knock on Zach Hyman, but I just think you've got other guys that are similar to him, like Brandon Hagel, I think would be a good comparable. And obviously Coop's going to lean towards him and the familiarity with Cirelli there. So yeah, there's really not that many surprises for me, Ross. I think this is how it would go up front. Yeah, on the back end, Colton Parayko was very surprising for me.
Now he's an unreal skater, good defensively, but he's a black hole of offense. Doesn't provide much offensively at all, and that's where I was like Mackenzie Weegar's right there.
Yeah, and especially like if you're gonna if you're gonna keep those pairs together, like you talked about, Taves, Makar, Theodore, Pietrangelo, I think that makes sense. So you're gonna put Parayko with Morrissey, that's a good yin and yang because you got full offense and full defense, but I don't know.
Yeah, Morrissey Weegar would be doing it a little bit more for me.
Yeah, same.
And I'm curious if those will be the D pairs because to me, Josh Morrissey's not the 5th or 6th best defenseman on that team.
Yeah, but you're not split. Like, why would you split up Taves, Makar, Theodore, Pietrangelo? Maybe you just switch who's on the second D pair then.
A lot of talk about Devin Taves too, because the numbers haven't been there for him, not only offensively, but him and Makar have been on the ice for over 300 minutes together at 5-on-5. And they're actually not playing that well 5-on-5. They got a -1 goal differential when they're on the ice together.
Now, I will say you got to take a look at the goaltending in Colorado. I mean, when you don't have a goalie, even the best defenseman, we've seen that in Ottawa. It's like, well, what do you want Jake Sanderson to do when Korpisalo lets in the first shot every game? So you got to take that into consideration. But yeah, it's certainly a fair point that not everyone, you don't have to be having career years to make these types of teams. It comes down to trying to build a team the way you want. And I think you made a great point about trying to find that chemistry, because it's so easy to just put a team of all-stars together and be like, we have the best players. Well, cool. You're not trying to have the best players. You're trying to have the best team. And I think getting guys that know each other and can easily hit the ice without too much distractions or trying to figure each other out, that's going to allow you to get things going early in the tournament and help you throughout the tournament.
And the tournament starts on February 12th. The last NHL games before the tournament are on February 9th. Like, that's as quick of a turnaround as you can get. There's 14 games on Saturday the 8th, and then just 2 games in the afternoon on Sunday, February 9th, which I believe is also Super Bowl Sunday.
It is.
But that said, that's 2 days for some of these guys, including one of those teams playing on Sunday is the Tampa Bay Lightning, and their head coach, John Cooper, needs to get into international duty pretty quickly after that. So it's going to be fun to watch. Obviously, this is a tournament that fans have been clamoring for. The fact that McDavid's in his 9th year and has never played with Sidney Crosby in any international event, it's a complete shame to the sport to grow it and to have your best players playing together. Throw Nathan McKinnon in the mix there too. And Canada is the betting favorite so far over at FanDuel at plus 135. At plus 175, though, the United States.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the United States have left off Tage Thompson and Cole Caulfield, 2 of the NHL's top goal scorers, from their roster.
Well, and this is a discussion I wanted to get into, Ross. No Connor Bedard for Team Canada. I think a lot of the hockey industry, the people that are making these teams, and I think the veterans kind of understand that this tournament, I don't want to water it down or call it not full prestige, but this tournament might be a nod to some of the veterans that have missed the opportunity to play in the Olympics. Like, do you think that might be a case here why guys like Tage Thompson, Cole Caulfield aren't making the team? Because they're like, look, you guys are going to have a career where you can play in the Olympics. Let's give it to some of the guys that missed out on that chance during their prime years. Do you think that's a factor at all?
I'm curious because it sounds like the 2 guys who they're taking instead are Vinny Trocheck and Chris Kreider.
Which is so ironic based on the years they're having in the team. The Rangers are not
another team that they're in
horrible.
Complete disarray and still over 500.
Yeah,
in
seriously.
a playoff spot.
The Bruins and Rangers, the sky is falling. They're in playoff spots. Sens fans are just looking up at them from 29th, being like, we would kill to be in your disarray. We would love to have your problems.
Yeah, where do we get some of those? Where do we get some of those records? Seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
But, hey, this tournament's going to be awesome. Let us know your thoughts. And are you surprised that no Ottawa Senators are on Team Canada? I'm not personally at all.
No, but Brady's going to be on Team USA.
Allmark for Team Sweden. We'll see where he fits on the depth chart, though. Like, to me, he's probably the 3rd guy right now based on how he's playing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it sucks to say that, but it's certainly Gus has got to be your top guy, and then Markstrom, number 2 probably.
Gus is so unreal. Guys leading the NHL in save percentage, leading the NHL in goals against average, and
Joey Dak would be interesting for Canada too, but they kind of laid it out on 32 Thoughts that it's not going to happen. He's not going to be able to get his passport in time, and it's kind of it was a pipe dream anyways. But imagine Joey Dak and Philip Gustafson going head to head in the 4 Nation faceoffs, and the Sens are just sitting there like, cool.
Well, if you're going based on strictly save percentage this year, Canada's goaltending duo, if you had Dax, would be that and Talbot.
Which is even more of a smack in the face to the Ottawa Senators.
Unreal. Good thing the Sens, they did. Joonas Korpisalo will not be on Team Finland, I don't think.
Remember at the end of the year last year when somebody asked him on locker cleanout day, are you going to play for Team Finland in the World Championship? And he goes, nobody's called me about that.
Oh,
that was tough. But hey, he's getting the last laugh here.
Hey, you know who's getting the last laugh? Ottawa Senators fans, because after more than a decade estranged, Dany Heatley will be coming to the Canadian Tire Center tomorrow. What memories does that invoke for you? Let us know in the comments. We'll share our favorite pizza line moments and memories. And how much pizza did they get, Sens fans? You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Best part is, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
All right, Pillsy. It's going to be a fun night at the CTC tomorrow at 7 p.m. and before, when the Ottawa Senators honor the best line in franchise history, and it ain't even close. This summer, I put out on Twitter at Sens Central, who's the second best line in Ottawa Senators history? You can let us know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Pillsy, before we get to our favorite pizza line memories, anyone who's in Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatoon. I don't even know if I've told you this.
Huh?
I'm anchoring the Global News show tonight.
Oh,
first
yeah?
time ever. Yeah, it's going to be hilarious.
On television?
On television, yeah. Face for radio, no more.
Whew, congrats, buddy.
Yeah,
nice.
Got the suit on, too. And funny enough, it will be my first time in Saskatchewan.
Good thing you're telling all the good people the news.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got a few Sasky Sens fans out there, and we
awesome.
appreciate each and every one of you guys. And that's the new news, but the old news is amazing. And people are split on bringing back Dany Heatley. It did not end well. I thought Bruce Garriock did a great job of summarizing that in his article this week. But look, time heals all wounds. At least that's how I feel about it. I still remember working at Bank Street and Laurier at that new condo. Well, I guess it's not new anymore, but that was my summer job that year. I was like sweeping stairwells, doing all the
Nice.
work nobody else wanted to do. But I'd always sneak away and go to senschirp.com and try to get the latest on the Dany Heatley saga in that summer of 2009. However, when you look back at the first 2 years especially, we just did the math, man. Like, the amount of pizza and good memories this line did, it's pretty outstanding, and I think it has to be honored in some kind of way. And even just bringing back alumni, I think it will go a long way to the brand of the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I mean, that line fed Ottawa families for 2 years, Ross. What's for dinner? Pizza. Again. Pizza.
And garlic sauce.
Again. Yeah, garlic sauce. It was incredible. I mean, I was just looking through the Ottawa Senators schedule in those years. Specifically, I was looking at 2005, the year I became an Ottawa Senators fan. Well, technically 2004, but that was a lockout. It's crazy how good this team used to be. Like just win, and not like cheeky 4-3 wins, like just crushing teams. Oh, to be back in those days. Imagine we could podcast back in those days, Ross.
It was ridiculous. We want pizza over and over again. Actually, the first 3 home games that those 3 players were together, the Ottawa Senators got pizza for the fans. Everyone remembers the first shootout in NHL history. Ottawa beats Toronto, and the three shooters were Heatley, Alfredsson, and Spezza.
And Alfie scored the game winner.
Shocker, right? In the game itself, Alfie had 2 goals, both Ottawa Senators goals. They were both assisted by Jason Spezza, and Heatley had the goal with 1 minute and 2 seconds left in the game to tie it. Then they came home, and in the first home game as a line, a 5-0 shutout over the Buffalo Sabres. Jason Spezza scored the first goal of the game. Dany Heatley scored the second goal of the game.
Dominic
so they win 5-0. Yep. Everybody gets pizza.
Don't get too far in this, because one of the games, the 29th, is my favorite pizza line memory. So let me get to that one.
Well, I'm just going through, because in the second home game, the Ottawa Senators scored 6 goals and 1. More pizza. The pizza line itself had 4 of those 6 goals in the game. It was actually a shootout win, I should say.
6-5 over Toronto.
6-5 over Toronto. So there's another one. And then they beat the Boston Bruins 5-1 in their third home game of the year. Now, the pizza line didn't score in that game, funny enough, but that's 3 straight games. And in 5 of the first 8 games at home as a line, Senators fans went home with pizza. So I don't know exactly when the pizza promotion changed from 5 to 6 goals. Would love someone to provide that info. I looked for it, could not find it. But in the 82 home games during those first 2 years, regular season only, the Ottawa Senators scored 5 or more goals 31 out of 82 times. That's 38% of their games. Pretty incredible.
It's insane. Like I said, it's hilarious how good this team used to be and how bad they are now. But let's live it up in nostalgia, Ross. I referenced the game I wanted to get to. This is one of the core memories for me as a young hockey fan, and more specifically an Ottawa Senators fan. Like I said, this was my first season being an Ottawa Senators fan. It was November 29th, Saturday. October 29th, my bad. Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, Sens Leafs. My first hockey night in Canada up against the Leafs as an Ottawa Senators fan. And the Ottawa Senators beat the absolute wheels off the Leafs 8-0. 8-0. Daniel Alfredsson had a goal and 2 assists. Dany Heatley had 4 goals. And Jason Spezza had 2 assists. And of course, my guy, Dominic Hasek, had a shutout. That was the best memory I've ever had, because obviously there was a lot of Leafs fans in my life. I had just switched over to being a Sens fan. And that 8-0 route, I was like, I'm the smartest 12-year-old around for deciding to become an Ottawa Senators fan. They just beat the Leafs 8-0 on Hockey Night in Canada. And it was, since it was October 29th, it was like a Halloween themed game. So there was costumes everywhere, and sad Leafs fans walking out of there in their costumes was, brings me back, Ross.
That's amazing. And I just looked it up. That year, the Senators went 7-1 in 8 games against the Toronto Maple Leafs, with a plus 22 goal differential.
Well, I mean, when you get an 8-0 win, that helps out the goal differential.
The next year, they went 5-1-2 against Toronto. So those first 2 years were very fun.
I was so vindicated. Yes.
That's 12 wins in 16 games, and they had at least a point in 14 out of those 16 games in those 2 years against Toronto. So I'd say you made the right decision with that one. So with this honoring, and I'm curious to hear, because Dany Heatley in the one-on-one with Ian Mendez at Senators.com earlier this week, I think it was on Monday, he mentioned that he's got things to say, but wants to do it in person. So I'd imagine there'll be some type of press conference tomorrow morning when the Ottawa Senators, probably after their morning skate. So look for that midday tomorrow before the Senators take on the Detroit Red Wings. Tomorrow, we've got a game day preview edition of the show, because pageantry aside, what happens between the whistles is going to be the most important part of the evening. A critical 2 points divisionally on the line for the Ottawa Senators, and they need to hurry up quick or it'll get dark early again in Ottawa. So we're looking forward to a game day preview. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
I do have final thoughts, Ross. Final thought for me, normally I throw it over to the Belleville Senators, but we got to give a little bit of love to the Ottawa Charge with a 3-2 victory over the Toronto Scepters. So congrats to the Ottawa Charge there. And I know we've mentioned it a couple times, Ross, but we haven't really done a deep dive on it. Blake Montgomery is... Yeah. Oh my God, this guy. Oh, I just lost the game logs. I had his game logs up. The last 2 games with the London Knights, I think he's at like 6 points. Okay, I got it here. The last 3 games with the London Knights, he has 8 points in Unreal. 3 games. So it took him a little while to get adjusted to the OHL new surroundings, but this guy is a London Knight, and he's firing on all cylinders. So congrats to Blake Montgomery.
Yeah, love seeing that. One of the Sens 3 4th-round picks from this past NHL draft. Pillsy, I'll end today's show with an idea, and I'll see if you're willing to split it with me. Okay. If the Senators score 5 or more goals and win tomorrow, we will buy a citizen who comments on our YouTube. We'll put it into a randomizer, and for each goal they score, we will buy a pizza for that amount of people. So
we're having a pizza party.
6 goals and a win. We buy 6 citizens a full pizza, full wheel.
I'm in. Okay. I'll match.
Okay, there you go. So there you have it. Comment on our YouTube, and in your comment, don't just put a slice of pizza, but make your comment. Let us know your thoughts on the show or the team right now, and add a pizza emoji.
Yes.
And that will qualify you if the Senators score 5 goals and win tomorrow. Look, we're not going pizza and saying, oh, let's change it to 6, 5.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be from pizza because we want you to enjoy this pie that we provide. So we're going to be focused on that. We're trying to put some cheesiness into the air, sauce it up a little bit.
Yep.
And we need the Senators to get a win tomorrow night. Thanks for watching, listening, engaging with the show. It means a lot to us. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We are your team every day. We're on a run of 20 straight days with a show because the Senators have back-to-back weekends playing Saturday and Sunday. We are your team every day. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.